Dada, nga deba ka kola, kaya sawari, linang di tata di mek di tata, ngoa tang, molang tata si nungcha ko, mekpa kona tata tamsi, kasi o, ta molang tang nga chipo yin, na dana kuso mingyong nung re sam, dani ka tsawa che kore, di chuli ma re, dani ta molang chung chok molang tang dana, jasi xiawa la ne zong de taga pa de, 네버 산제도 산초스마 마음보 산제 산제 다다 요바 참새가 뒤줄들이 사동 설마 보고 책 너지 샘적들이 그거 찍어서들 샘지도 하나 산제 샘지도로 요 말이 이 단초 숙지 숙지 뒤져서送요래 데리고 샘지에 가래 샘지 삼제 내와다 내 동에 자상 이따다 유습도 산제 삼제 빼나 어째서 배샤서는 잡을게 배샤 상마 배칸 강적을 로나 똑가리 됐다 요래 예를들이 나가서면 또 소소거든 그냥 타고니지 사바체비와 습지 삼지를 핀고 선이지고 그래 나가서면 또 대기 집어도 뒤에서 사제 탐지가 됐다고 공부하요래 이제 대로남들이 취지 이제 또 이제 토리 샘지가 동인데 내가 로저 차롱 따버리 마도 내가 박차면 문제지 샘지 문제지 요 말이지 찍다 요 말이 혼대 예미들 샘 대식인 뭐 샘지나 대식인 뭐요베 오 돌아와래서 다다는 때나 다서 뭐 눈이 총총도 하래야 그러지 그래서 다시 눈이 잠시도 가리서는 소리지 나는 니몽 독점리 송화고 니몽 독점때 마미는 니몽 독점리 미는 산지 거성도 아니 거성도 아니 산지 동지데 자와답지 싫은데 찍든지 눈이 혼자 가까이요 말이 이 하고는 공부만 줘서 저 하고는 이때에서 새로 차려면 되면 생긴 동이 쪽으로 쌓는 이제는 누가 차야 요래 뭐 빠tter 뭐지 송을 이때 물게 동이 쪽으로 쌓는 공유가 차로 살아서 동이 쪽으로 쌓는 또 되지 그래서 로에 처음 다 그랬지 다서 쉽지 막고 다서는 마초가로 쉬어요. 되는 대체도 보다 쉬어요 말이. 기타 가지는 거요. 라마 사진 좀 하고들. 때문에 자체데 simply 그래서 요 말에서는 진짜 호가 동도 쪽서는 우리 simply 매데 해하고 와라. 그 호가 동도라고 요래지.
So now, whatever practice we do, when we engage in mantra recitation, the different visualizations that go along with it, or dedication prayers, other prayers, and so forth. So some people, when they do these prayers and so forth, they think that it's just like me here alone doing this prayer, or it's just us few people here doing this prayer. They have this feeling, but this is actually not the case at all. For example, a prayer like the Bodhicharya Avatara by Shantideva, since the time of Shantideva, since he spoke this prayer until present day, this is the prayer that all the Buddhas have had. All the Buddhas of the past, all the Buddhas present now, and all the future Buddhas will have. Even though they appear in thousands of different ways, they have a single mind. And their words are the same, their aspirations are the same. And that is only the benefit of sentient beings. It is really summarized in the prayer, may beings have happiness and be free from suffering. And that is the intention of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So therefore, when we make such a prayer, we are combining our aspiration, we are uniting our aspirations with those of the Buddhas of the 3 times, which is similar to, for example, imagine that everyone in the world would put all of their money into one single bank account. How would that be? So it's similar to that. We are combining, uniting our prayers with the Buddhas. And then it becomes powerful because, so there's 3 powers. Number 1, there is the power of your own intention. So first you must have a wish to benefit sentient beings and immeasurable love that comes from the bottom of your heart. And then the second power then is the power of the aspiration of all the Buddhas of the 3 times. So then when you have altruism, you connect to this power. And then number 3 is the power of the Dharmadhatu, and that is to know that although sentient beings experience suffering temporarily, they are like an ice block, that is not their true nature. They possess Buddha nature. So even though temporarily they accumulate karmas, karmic imprints, in reality there is no real sentient being that exists, not a single one, because samsara and nirvana are inseparable. So if you understand that Buddhas, sentient beings possess Buddha nature, because they possess Buddha nature, actually they are liberated very easily. So then there is no need to be so overwhelmed by even the smallest suffering. The root of all suffering are the 3 poisons, the afflictive emotions. We call them poisons when the mind is in an immature, unripe state. But when the mind matures, then these 3 poisons actually ripen into the 3 kayas. A Buddha is an embodiment of the 3 kayas. Within the expanse of primordial wisdom, all the Buddhas are one. Samsara and nirvana are not separate. If you understand that, you have understood the unchanging nail of meditation. And then your mind becomes the deity. If you only think about the suffering of sentient beings in this world, it could even drive you insane. In fact, Patrul Rinpoche had said that if I would only think about the suffering of beings in this world, I would probably go crazy. But because we understand that the mind is not like that in the natural state, that this suffering is just temporary, an ice-like state, then the mind relaxes more. So it is true that many people suffer and there is people dying in wars and so on, but still that Buddha nature remains as it is. And all of these beings possess Buddha nature. And they all require our dedications. It is said that even Buddhas and Lamas, gurus, they require dedication. We have to dedicate for them. And all of this is on the basis of knowing that there are no real sentient beings. And so there's this phrase where we say to stir samsara from its depths. Stirring samsara from its depths means to understand that actually in reality no real sentient being exists.
내가 로버는 트바리 많이 박차리마도 생 대식이 몰라 선한 이요 말이 너가 이 끼인지 내가 끼인지 저거든 니지 끼인지 저거든 다 라데 니요 말이 라데 내가 끼인지 저거든 그더니 이게 미니나 저 계단 차도 게 사마진 이제 저 라리 저 계단 차도 이제 양치지 내가 속발래요 대리만 내가 유모 왜 카드로 대식이 먹는 줄이야요 말이 이 하고를 들이 심지는 사진이 있어. 제일 선택의 추경이 이 하고서는 들이 뭐는 가려는 심지 삼시 산지는 통지돼 기지 보여래.
So we need to understand the view. So the biggest fault actually is not to understand the view. Because then there's people, for example, who say that there is Buddhist and non-Buddhist, or so to speak, inner and outer. And then they think that those who are outer or who are not Buddhist, they will always be that way. And then some disciples with great concern for their friends, often they come and say, so my friend is not a Buddhist, so if I make a prayer for him, a dedication, does it really help him? And of course it still helps him. It doesn't matter if one is a Buddhist or not. All of this is just a temporary obscuration, a temporary confusion or karmic imprint. But within Buddha nature, there is no Buddhist or non-Buddhist. It is just we become a certain, in a certain way, depending on temporary conditions. And likewise, there is no gods and demons in reality. Demons and enemies and obstructors, they only are a temporary appearance as well. And it happens even within one person. For example, if a person gets angry, is angry and jealous, then they become like a demon. In the next moment, they give rise to love and compassion, they become like a god. So as long as they're afflicted, they will engage in negative activities. So the afflictions, the state of mind always changes, but Buddha nature never changes. So if you understand that, and then you hear all beings are actually Buddhas, you will be certain and think this is really how it is. You will have a decisive mind. And also, so if you understand the purpose of dedication prayers in this way, then you understand that on the basis of knowing that Buddhas, sentient beings are actually Buddhas and there are no real sentient beings. So that's very important to understand. And so what is the difference between knowing or not knowing or understanding the Dharma, and what qualities and faults arise? If one doesn't understand the Dharma, then one believes that the self is real. And believing that the self is real, then one accumulates afflictive emotions and karmic imprints like snowflakes accumulating, all arising out of self-grasping. And even though we cannot see self-grasping, it becomes unbearable. And then even the slightest suffering becomes unbearable. And then there's people, for example, who go to schools and kill children, and then they even kill themselves. When normally, when we're just a little bit sick, we spend so much money on medical treatments. But then how can somebody be so angry, so full of hatred that they even commit suicide? It is because self-grasping and the afflictive emotions, the imprints, are very heavy in the mind. As someone who understands karma is more like an ocean upon which snowflakes fall. So the snowflakes falling on the ocean will not really become ice blocks. So they will understand that we will encounter all kinds of situations, happiness and suffering. And these all arise due to our own karma, our karmic imprints, and the afflictive emotions. So they understand karma, and therefore they are like this ocean upon which snowflakes fall, and they don't ever actually freeze into ice, or it doesn't become this thick layer of snow. So that seems to be the difference between understanding and not understanding the Dharma. And so so somebody who doesn't understand karma, to them, they believe that all of their suffering is based on this physical body. And then often they think that if they just remove this body, if they commit suicide, then they will be relieved from suffering. But this is not the case at all, because the mind doesn't go on. Because the suffering is really not in the body, but it's in the mind. It's an imprint in the mind that will continue to manifest. And so if one commits suicide, one will experience this committing of suicide over and over again, and it will be even worse than the original suicide. So on the other hand, someone who understands karma, they will not see suffering this way. They will see suffering as a purification of karmic imprints. So they know how to transform suffering into happiness, no matter what it is, whether one is sick or experience any other suffering. They will understand that this suffering purifies negative karma and karmic imprints. In fact, the 3 lower realms are like a hospital where you get a surgery done. Somebody who understands karma understands it this way. They understand the experience of suffering as like undergoing a surgery, like a medical treatment. And then also if they undergo medical treatments, then the bills they pay for the medical treatment for the doctor becomes an offering or an act of generosity, and they think that their suffering is a purification of their negative karma. So thinking in this way, you are transforming suffering into happiness. So think about that again, the faults of not understanding karma and the qualities of understanding karma, and also discuss that with each other. So in that way, it will become really helpful. So if someone who understands karma, they will understand that one can free oneself from the cause of suffering. One has to just destroy the cause of suffering. The Buddha also said that all phenomena arise from causes. So that Dharma really is to understand the workings of karma. If you understand karma and you trust in karma, then you really understand the Dharma.
Just for some things, some simple some things look the prima di Baiori, deity sonately, Dr. Palatri, Ketu, Sori, Chadam, Sela Meva, or Chuluk the Tamara Tang Ketaba, the Rang, Tiam Lelatin, Chuluk the Rang, Legaba Chaji, Rang, Chuluk, Yoko, Mato, the Jibe, Chuluk de la Table, Demarted, Chatham, Ruba. Don't that much ticket on my deal something to Zogo Yoribella. Something to my usual picture you marry. Dutch don't get many. They thought somebody. Sorry, we were some, the children. Sorry, the actual talk was so yori. Nelson in jail take oh, she should take by your ticket to what did the Chadam to worry. The rather come Nelson on a detail tape out of Kubachi. There
are many different religions in the world. It's just that the only difference really in them is that some are maybe go into more depth than others. But all the religions in the world, in one way or the other, try to really change, transform the inner mind. And so sometimes when harm is being caused in the name of religion, it is often due to that biased views towards different viewpoints and attachment and aversion arising from that. But if there is no bias toward any philosophical viewpoint, and there is no attachment or aversion against anything, then pure view can arise within the mind towards all different religions. And it is just that depending on certain karmic imprints that one already brings from previous lives, that one enters a certain religion. But that's really the only difference. All the religions in the world have very similar traits. For example, there is no religion that does not value generosity and ethical discipline, and patience and so forth. And there's also no religion that doesn't value loving kindness and compassion. It just manifests in different shapes and forms and sizes, but ultimately they all really value the same qualities. And therefore we can be without any bias against any of them. It's just that when we begin to label them and think that, oh, this one has devotion, or this one is like bad, is negative, then that encourages thoughts of attachment and aversion in our mind. So instead of that, we should just continue to do our own practice our own religion, and at the same time have faith and also respect for all the others. So in this way, we are open-eyed.
나와서 자체를 요리 참이 고도 세계 요리 이런 뒤더니 주로 자원 냠더니 주로기가 따담더니 노래냐고지 같이 주자리도 봐요 진짜 라고 강신에서 갔으면 대 로마냐도 노래냐고지는 되잖아 들으라고 도와주고 그래 줄 제니 bes음을 그래서 다 노래요리 진짜 노래요리 대나니들이 돌아오는 네 하고 쓰고 있죠. 무슨 시스템이 시바의 땡겨와 다 좋다고요. 그러니까 주탑체는 돌아오는 게 있죠 뭐요. 지들이 양용제리지나 들이 피바침 뭐요. 들이 나는 거 가면 가슴도 맞아. 시계 가서 시에나 양님은 그냥 피고요. 들이 돌아오는 하자 같이 뭐요.
And so nowadays also the Buddhist religion has become more widely spread in all the different directions. And also nowadays there's a lot of interfaith communication. Many religions meet together and they discuss their religions with each other. And that's actually really excellent. Also when you receive a Dharma teaching, if you just listen to the Dharma teaching and maybe take some notes, and then just put them somewhere and never really talk about it, it's of not so much benefit. It's much more beneficial if you actually discuss the teachings with the other disciples, because this is a way of really cutting through all kinds of doubts and misunderstandings. And so when we now speak about the activities of teaching, listening, and increasing the Buddha's teachings, part of that also is discussion about the teachings, because through discussing the different topics, you can really gain a deeper understanding and really clear away all kinds of misunderstandings. So it's very important that after you have received the teaching that you also discuss that with each other, because in that way your experience, your understanding will increase. It's not so beneficial to just let it all be. And so therefore also I'm also sharing with whatever I do know, whatever you do know, I'm not just, whatever I do know, I do not just close my mouth, but I speak about whatever I do know because it is of great benefit. And so likewise, the discussions about the Dharma are very, very important.
권총선을 잡준다. 뒤짜도 놀러 가래. 오, 산제 권총선 뒤바 가래는 대다가 랑 뒤지서 좁아래. 샘집아도 잡도 은혜도 가래. 샘집아래. 샘집아도 산제에 턱지 마서. 당보산 쪽쪽도 턱지 샘 턱지도 어제. 당보산 쪽쪽도 샘지는 샘지 탐지 피고 산로 대지 흐를 때 지섬지 내가 산제 마음과 산제 탐지 샘지를 때요. 샘지들이 내가 가르치는 무슨 동의가 자와 단지에 세고 인피를 놓아. 그래 인을 핀받는 샘지들이 산속 샘들이 랑나 핀받는 인을 대화지. 내가 핀받는 타톡 대화서. 당보 랑나 핀받 인을 대화. 랑 동의도 단지 들지 산속에서 올 때가 되면 잡증을 돌려 받아 샘지 상태를 핀. 내가 비바들은 내가 털이 쓰고 람탑 타톡 되어든 타톡 사지에 고마 탑톡을 여기 당호랑을 핀바다 인을 내가 이기서 내가 비바던 타톡 되어서 이기가 하고서 남이 탑지 싸워 되지 뭐는 생기던 저로 모아지 기치고요.
And whatever virtue we practice, whatever Dharma we practice, in the beginning, we must always give rise to Bodhichitta, and we must take refuge in the three jewels. But what does it really mean to take refuge in the three jewels? When we take refuge in the Buddha, what is the Buddha's intention really when he rested in a state of samadhi? His real intention, his enlightened mind was a mind of Bodhichitta. So we really take refuge in the Buddha's Bodhichitta. So first we must develop Bodhichitta, and that is the wish to benefit all sentient beings. So that is the mind that all the Buddhas of the three times have first developed. Buddhas of the past, present, and future. They all depended upon the mind generation of Bodhichitta. And how does it benefit others? The root of suffering is self-grasping, and it can only be cleared away through the altruistic mind. Bodhichitta is to your own benefit and the happiness of others. and it has a temporary benefit and ultimate happiness. So first, it is your own benefit because through bodhicitta, you're liberating yourself from suffering. Self-grasping diminishes. And then it is the happiness of others, because if you cultivate bodhicitta, you become like this warm ocean that melts the other ice blocks. So you're benefiting all sentient beings. And then there is a temporary benefit and the ultimate happiness. The temporary benefit is that you will attain birth in the 3 higher realms temporarily. The ultimate happiness is the attainment of enlightenment. So these two are important to understand. Now the happiness, the benefit for yourself and the happiness of others, and the temporary benefit and the ultimate happiness. These really is the essence of all practice. So in the beginning of any practice, you should develop a mind of bodhicitta, and in the end, dedicate the virtues.
만한테 싸들는데 메탈 저침보리 다다 드린 담벨링을 Lama 개신이 담지 그때도 그 만난 거 요래 이 따로 민성 빼고 저를 탁탁 치고 담는 저를 대나기 이 기타들이 가리는 다지 탐지를 하는 비바다 이는 대화 전로 뒤 정신이 이 뭐하려고 다다 풍보스면 도는 송요래 내가 많은 척골게 동안 일단 내가 사진 남기고도 무바당 마누버 사진 남기고도 거가 좋아다 자타타 요거 사진 좀 있는데 뭐안 돼봐 대제도 딱게 뭐 좋지 대문에 산속서 만나면 너도 톡을 공부죠 산속서 바탕에 가리산 거 세지 탐제 비바다 야고 삼거리 어디 탐제 산속서 소리지 뭐라든 좀뭐 대다고 싸우는 이런 생각인데 만을 듣기는 공화 받았더니 만사 타바다더니 라는 게 도전 쫄랑 탐지했더니 진해서 라면서 제일 많은 돈이 되게 정말에 뭐가건 대체도 너무 많잖아요. 하자 그 정말에 애들.
So during the Mani Drubchen, it's important that we recite the Mani mantra. And so often people have their malas in their hand and recite the mantra to accumulate it. But we don't always have the mala also with us. We can recite the Mani mantra in all the activities, in whatever you do, as you go around or sit in whatever activity. Or if you just have time for like 10 minutes, you can recite the Mani mantra during that time. Whenever you can. And this is how I have practiced myself when I was in prison. So whenever there was time to practice the Mani, you just recite it for those few minutes. And it will accumulate into a great cause of virtue. And this is also what many lamas and spiritual masters in the world encourage us to do. For example, this is also how we have accumulated so many medicine Buddha mantras this year. We have actually accumulated hundreds of thousands of these mantras. And then we dedicate these roots of virtue for all beings, for our own benefit and the happiness of others. So regarding the dedication, it also mentions that in the 3 Heap Sutra, even if you just recite one mala round of Mani mantra with great faith and devotion, you're connecting to the future Buddha's dedications and the dedications of all the Buddhas still to come and all the present Buddha's dedications. Because in the prayer we say, I will dedicate just as they do. And also in that prayer, in the 3 Heap Sutra, we say, may the aspirations of bodhicitta, of all the bodhisattvas, become perfectly accomplished. The aspirations of all the bodhisattvas is the benefit and the happiness of sentient beings. So we pray that may their aspirations become fulfilled. So this is how we should reflect during the Mani Drubchen, as we recite the Mani mantra and read the dedication. And then in all your activities later, when you walk around or you sit, whatever you do, remember Chenrezig, bring Chenrezig to mind in an instant, visualize Chenrezig and recite the Mani mantra.
Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme 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 hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme 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 hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme 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 hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme hum, om mani padme Om mani padme Tenzin Joran Tenrani Ja Uja Day1 Menga Ya Jen Chua Jubana Layara
At the end of the session, the universe and beings melt into light and are absorbed into myself. I then melt into light and dissolve into the Three. The Three subsides into the natural state. devoid of thoughts. I rest in it as long as it remains. When thoughts proliferate anew, I manifest again as the exalted Lord.
Om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme 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 hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum, om mani padme 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 hum, om mani padme om mani padme hum, om mani padme hum.
To the Dharmakaya of the bliss-gone ones of the three times, Chenrezig, who looks after all beings of the 6 realms, who has 11 faces and is now pervasive like space. To the splendorous one of infinite light I bow. May the unequal guide, king among sages, crown of the Shakyas, ocean of victorious ones together with their children, and all the Kagyu Lamas amass like offering clouds through the essence mantra of the 6 syllables. May the perfected intentions of all Buddhas of the past, the gathered accumulations of all the Buddhas of the future, and the steadfast longevity of all the Buddhas of the present arise through the essence mantra of the 6 syllables.
Om Rinpoche Sess2 Lama Zho Day1
Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path my parents and teachers, with whom I share karmic connection, along with all the relatives and the like-minded companions I rely upon. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path the classes of demons, stealers of vitality, enemies, obstructing spirits, illness, and harmful forces generated from attachment, aversion, and ignorance. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path the kind patrons who have asked not to be forgotten, and the male and female patrons who have been told that they will not be forgotten. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those sentient beings who rely on donations, ransom, offerings, and substances given with faith to the Lama, Sangha, and representations of the enlightened body, speech, and mind. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those kings, ministers, and subjects with poor conduct, as well as dishonest people who are shameless, deceptive, and harbor negative thoughts. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those who have engaged in negative actions, such as the 10 non-virtues, the 5 acts of immediate consequence, and the 5 deeds similar to those of immediate consequence. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those for whom we have directly received written dedication requests, and those departed ones on whose behalf we have accepted offerings of food. Please bless them to be born in Day1.
Deva Jindu Jiva Sengyelo.
Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those whose deaths we have heard about, those whose deaths we have seen with our own eyes, and all those beings without exception throughout the world who have passed away. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those who have died from knives, starvation, fatalities on mountain passes, drowning, and the like. Also guide those who wander in the bardo, devoid of wholesome deeds or negativities. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those kind mothers whose milk and yogurt we have partaken of, and all the sentient beings without exception whose blood and meat we have eaten. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those beings who we weigh down with unbearable loads and beat as we ride. Those beings who, when they will not go, we force with nose ropes to plow and plow. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those who throughout Utsang, Kam, Ngari, and the whole world, those who among the other 3 continents and subcontinents, and everyone under the sun, please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path those who dwell within and are comprised of the 5 elements, as well as all coarse and subtle sentient beings, those who have forms and those who are formless. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Chenrezig, please guide on the path the hell beings, hungry ghosts, animals, demigods, gods, humans, and all sentient beings of the 3 realms. Please bless them to be born in Day1. Lord Shenrezig, please guide on the path those throughout the limitless expanse of pure realms in the 10 directions, and likewise all inconceivable infinite sentient beings. Please bless them to be born in Day1 Chan.
Mana balaya banza sado tenoba tidandu me bava subdu bhayo me bava subudhayo me bava anurado me bava sarva siddhi me bhaya sarva karma sudan chiyam guru ha 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 ho bangave Sarva Tatangata Meza Mamenda Meza Bhava Ma Samaya Sadhu. Page 27, Shabbat Plus. Iranya La Sarva Tuso Hong Le Wei Lama Tenzin Zawa Sumje Tujuko Tamche Inte Bata Sun San La Wangu Muju To Chele
From the life force hung at the heart of myself, visualized as the deity, radiates light, invoking the enlightened mind of the Guru, knowledge holders, and the 3 roots. They all appear like billowing clouds and bestow blessings, empowerment, and cities, and perform enlightened deeds.
now break for lunch, and we will be back at 2 p.m. Arizona time.